Welcome back to Droanacharya IAS YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Daman Benipal and you're watching Daily Editorial Analysis. Well, आज इस वीडियो लेक्चर में हम LGBT rights and the laws of LGBT in India we're going to discuss those. एक ब्रीफ हिस्ट्री हम यहाँ पे देखेंगे किस तरह से LGBT rights इंडिया में इवॉल्व हुए हैं and what laws we have for this. ये टॉपिक GS paper 1 point of view से भी important है because it is an important social issue, and this topic is also important from GS paper 2 point of view because here we're talking about the rights and the laws. So let's begin with it. Now we all know that the people of different sexual orientation or the gender identity, so many times they narrate the tales, the harrowing tales of bullying, the discrimination that they face, the stigma around it, and even ostracization. So in this context, now recently there's a directive by National Medical Commission. National Medical Commission ने सभी state medical councils को कहा है that there has to be the ban on conversion therapy, calling it that this is a professional misconduct. जो कन्वर्जन थेरेपीज़ हैं उन्हें अब बैन कर दिया गया है, एंड दिस इज़ अ वेलकम स्टेप व्हेन इट कम्स टू LGBTQ राइट्स एंड अ स्टेप टुवर्ड्स एम्पावरिंग देम. नेशनल मेडिकल कमीशन ने स्टेट बॉडीज़ को एम्पावर किया है दैट दे कैन टेक डिसिप्लिनरी एक्शन अगेंस्ट अ मेडिकल प्रोफेशनल हु ब्रीच दिस गाइडलाइन एंड परफॉर्म कन्वर्जन थेरेपी. It's a big step here. तो इसीलिए बिल्कुल बेसिक से शुरू करते हैं. Let's understand what is a conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is also known as reparative therapy. ये एक intervention है which is aimed at changing the sexual orientation or changing the gender identity of an individual. And the members of LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex or asexual or of any other orientation, they are often subjected to such kind of conversion or reparative therapy, especially when they are young. So basically what happens is the attempt is made to change their sexual orientation, to change their gender identity by force. So this therapy can mean anything. It can include psychiatric treatment. It can even include the use of psychosomatic drugs which affect the entire brain and the nervous system. It includes electroshock therapy, exhaustion and the violence. So therefore, the intervention which is provided under the conversion therapy, they are provided under the false premise, because here if somebody is performing conversion therapy, it means that they believe that homosexuality or diverse gender identities, these are a disease, these are pathological. अगर हम कन्वर्जन थेरेपी को अलाउ करते हैं, इसका मतलब वी आर ऑल्सो agreeing with it that homosexuality, different or diverse gender identity, it's a disease, it's a pathological error. But that is not the case, and therefore now the National Medical Commission has banned the conversion therapy in India. It's a big step. Conversion therapy, it poses so many risks. There is this risk of causing or even exacerbating the mental health conditions. It can induce anxiety, stress and even drug use, and it can often lead to suicides as well. And mostly these therapies are offered by quacks with having little experience or dealing with this kind of issue. So the National Commission, this order was following basically the Madras High Court's directive, in which Madras High Court issued an official notification listing that conversion therapies are wrong under the Indian Medical Council Professional Conduct Etiquette and Ethics Regulation 2002. वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेप. तो क्योंकि नेशनल मेडिकल कमीशन ने भी मद्रास हाई कोर्ट के डायरेक्टिव के बाद ही ये डिसीजन लिया है, तो एक बार देख लेते हैं कि जो मद्रास हाई कोर्ट की वर्डिक्ट थी वो क्या थी. लेट्स लुक एट द मेजर हाइलाइट्स ऑफ इट एंड सी हाउ इट लेड टू द बैन ऑफ द कन्वर्जन थेरेपी इन इंडिया. सो बेसिकली on June 7th, 2021, Justice N. Anand Venkatesh of Madras High Court, he gave this landmark ruling. He was hearing a case which is about the ordeal of the same-sex couple and those who sought police protection from their parents. And during this case, Justice N. Anand Venkatesh gave this landmark judgment in which he talked about the ban order. The ruling was that it prohibited any attempt to medically cure or to medically change the sexual orientation of LGBTQIA plus people. It urged authorities to take action against those professionals who are involving themselves in such kind of or such form of conversion therapies. And if somebody is doing so, it can lead to withdrawal of license to practice medicine. तो पहला तो clear cut ban order यहाँ से आता है, conversion therapies are banned in India. Then Justice Venkatesh also said that all the interim guidelines for the police was given activists, union and state social welfare ministries to ensure the safety and security to the LGBTQIA plus, which can lead them to the life which is chosen by them. So ultimately that is to ensure a right of life. Plus the Madras High Court directed the police, for example, to close the complaints of missing person cases without subjecting them to harassment. If it is found on investigation that the party जिनके लिए missing pending cases हैं, they belong to LGBTQIA community, उनके खिलाफ ये जो cases हैं उन्हें बंद किया जाए without subjecting them to harassment. Along with this, court asked the Ministry of Social Justice, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, to draw up a list of NGOs and other groups, those who handle such kind of issues in our community, ताकि LGBTQIA+ को पता हो कि वो कौन सी ऐसी organizations है जहाँ से वो help ले सकते हैं. Legal assistance is also important. Court said that the community should be provided with the legal assistance, जिसमें आपके जो district legal service authority हैं उन्हें law enforcement agencies के साथ काम करते हुए LGBTQIA community को legal assistance provide करनी होगी. It also asked agencies to follow the Transgender Person Protection of Rights Act 2019 in letter and spirit. Because court basically said that it was imperative to hold sensitization to such programs, and we need all out effort to understand the community and the needs of the community. And along with this was basically the Madras High Court's judgment. But even if Supreme Court has decriminalized the homosexuality in 2018, because Supreme Court strike down section 377 of Indian Penal Code, and that was the first step. And now the National Medical Commission's noticed this is a very small move in which we are banning the conversion therapy in India, and this can lead to inclusivity. Now remember, whenever you are writing about LGBTQI or any case about it, there are some important cases, like one is Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case of 2018. ये केस इसलिए इम्पॉर्टेंट है बिकॉज इसी केस में सेक्शन 377 ऑफ इंडियन पीनल कोड वाज स्ट्राइक डाउन, and it allowed LGBT individuals to engage in consensual intercourse without the fear of imprisonment. तो हम सबको पता है 377 हट चुका है, लेकिन कौन सा केस था? देखो, जब आप केस का नाम लिखते हैं तो उससे थोड़ा सा आपके आंसर की जो वैल्यू एडिशन है वो बढ़ जाती है. सो रिमेंबर, इट वाज नवतेज सिंह जौहर वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया केस. बट दिस वाजंट ऑलवेज द केस. 30 years पहले भी सेम इंडिया में it did not allow people to take lovers of same sex. India persecuted openly gay people. So how this transition happened? 1861 से लेकर 2018 तक की जर्नी, जिसमें फाइनली सेक्शन 377 हटा दिया जाता है, ये कैसे हुआ? क्योंकि इससे पहले तो हम इसके अगेंस्ट थे. How this transition happened? Let's look at it. सबसे पहले समझते हैं कि what was the situation in terms of homosexuality during ancient India or medieval India. Now we know, Britishers के आने से पहले India had our own text, and in those texts the detailed practice of homosexuality and same-sex intercourse was detailed. However, after the Britishers, the colonial era laws were imposed. Before that, the text that we have, it shows the detailed practice of homosexuality and same-sex intercourse to be present in India. If we go back as 400 BC, so the Kama Sutra said to be written by an Indian philosopher, Vatsyayana. He described homosexual acts in detail, including explicit instructions on how to perform such kind of acts. It described men who have relations with men, women who have relations with women, those who are bisexual, transgender people, intersex person. All of this was mentioned in our Indian text of 400 BC. Meanwhile, in South India, the oldest of Tamil text, which is Tamil Sangam literature, which goes back to 3 BC or 4 AD, it also included man-on-man relationship or relationship between transgender people. Our ancient texts like Astra Shastra, Narda Smriti, Shushruta Smriti, Samhita, all of this mention different types of same-sex relationships. But as much as some myth, ancient texts detailed the LGBT relationships. There were other texts like Manu Smriti. They tried it the same. Like if we talk about Manu Smriti, there was the detailed punishment of shaving the head of the women or cutting off their finger or punishing them if they engaged in the same-sex intercourse. तो दोनों चीज़ें हैं. Apart from the text, even if you look at the walls of some ancient architecture, which are the second sources of information about the ancient India, especially ancient India's thought and sexuality. Like for example, we have the temples of Khajuraho. In the temples, they depict same-sex relationship and bisexual relationship and other acts that was, going on. And while they were termed as unnatural intercourse. However, in India, during Mughal rule, unnatural intercourse was prohibited. There was a Fatwa Alamgiri, जिसमें एक unified code guidance दी जाती है based on Sharia law. And it included punishments like lashing on engaging with the homosexual intercourse. So what we are trying to say over here is when we look at history, when we go back to ancient and medieval India, we see that these kind of social issues were present over that point of time as well, but we are more open to it. Then coming down to the pre-independence era, तो ब्रिटिशर्स आ गए. ब्रिटिशर्स के आने की वजह से लॉज आ गए, कॉलोनियल लॉज आ गए और सेक्शन 377 आ जाता है आईपीसी का. This section deals with the unnatural offences. It states that whoever voluntarily has the same-sex intercourse against the order of nature, be it man, women or animal, they shall be punished up to 10 years. And when we look at the text of section 377, it was very vague. It can be applied to case by case basis to any kind of relationship which is against the natural order. This law can be extended to gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans relationships. So section 377 and other homosexuality laws in India, they were product of mind, they were deeply influenced by that sexist sin which is the stance of Christian Bible. इससे पहले एंशिएंट और मिडीवल टाइम्स में इंडिया वॉज मोर ओपन, लेकिन प्री इंडिपेंडेंस एरा आते ही जब ब्रिटिशर्स यहाँ पे आते हैं तो जो ब्रिटिशर्स के लॉज आते हैं दे वर मेनली इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय क्रिश्चियन बाइबल. So even in the years prior to independence, in 1947, these were outspoken about, unnatural sexuality. They often met with harsh consequences under the law. But then what happened post-independence? Post-independence and partition, both India and Pakistan, they had their own versions of original IPC. इंडिया के लिए बन जाता है इंडियन पीनल कोड, पाकिस्तान के लिए बन जाता है पाकिस्तान पीनल कोड. एंड सेक्शन 377 continued to stay in effect, and therefore the members of LGBT community, they faced persecution. Like there's so many examples. This in 1987 the police officers Leela and Urmila from Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal, they were sacked as law enforcement authority because they were getting married, they were coming out as a lesbian couple. 1990-1991, this is that time when there was the decline in Indian economy and we led to liberalization and globalization. And at this point of time, India was ushered by Western influences and also the presence of Western NGOs which talked about equal rights for LGBT individuals. Simultaneously, there was rise of HIV/AIDS largely among the gay community. So it demanded the better outreach program to limit the spread of HIV/AIDS. And therefore, in 2001, NAS Foundation, which is an NGO that works with HIV positive patients and sexual health, they filed a PIL, public interest litigation, challenging the clause that this is violative of fundamental right, a right against discrimination which is given in the Constitution of India. And therefore, in 2009, Delhi High Court in the NAS Foundation versus NCT of Delhi, they ruled out that section 377 was unconstitutional. This judgment was, it kind of decriminalized the homosexuality in India for the first time. High Court held that penalizing such actions violated right to privacy, personal liberty. Article 21 is about right to privacy and personal liberty. And when we have section 377, we are violating it. So also if we talk about right to equal treatment, Article 14, right of against discrimination, Article 15, all of these are violated because of section 377. And this verdict, we can, it is hailed as a victory for LGBT rights. However, it was challenged by several anti-gay right groups on some religious grounds, political grounds, social grounds, and they claim that, decriminalizing homosexuality will affect the institute of marriage in India. So what happened? In 2013, Suresh Kaushal versus NAS Foundation and others case में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का डिसीजन को रिवर्स कर दिया. एंड दे सेड दैट दिस इज अप टू द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट टू लेजिस्लेट ऑन सच इश्यूज. दोबारा 377 आ गया. अगैन इट क्रिमिनलाइज्ड होमोसेक्सुअलिटी. बट दिस decision led to protest all across the country. That making, even there were some parties which made that decriminalizing homosexuality was the part of their election manifesto. And then finally, in 2018, there was this historic order. The verdict came in Navtej Singh Johar versus, Navtej Singh Johar case, which challenged the constitutional validity of Section 377, and Supreme Court read down that the provisions of the clause, they pertain to the consensual same-sex relationship. The change in the law was welcomed by the LGBT community, and this kind of hailed as a victory for LGBT and human rights. So while we are, scrapping such kind of laws, that this is a very welcome step for the LGBT community, and now the activists say that we need to do more to actively support LGBT community. This even includes protection of transgender person, civil union, marriage right for the same-sex couple. So now this recent National Medical Commission's ban on conversion therapy, it is a huge welcome step. Along with this, we can take cue from the countries like Canada, because Canada has also banned the conversion therapy, and there should be clarity on what actions can be taken against the quacks or such psychiatrists or some doctors who are still engaging in conversion therapies or reparative treatments, what punishment they will face. तो हमें penal provisions को भी लेकर आना होगा. जो medical textbooks हैं, in 2018 it's still considered that lesbianism is perversion, an act of mental degenerates that needs to be changed in our education institution as well. We need gender neutral restroom in educational institutions, other places. And first point is, the misstanding begins at home. The abuse oftenly begins at home. The teenagers, they are forced to go for the conversion therapy. So we need to sensitize the parents about this issue. And overall, we need societal changes. Indian institutions and society will have to acknowledge that there is variability of human beings, and we need to accord equal respect to everyone, whatever the sexual orientation or gender identity it is. The changes in the societal level has to be complemented by laws which are better tuned to the needs of diverse community than the Transgender Person Protection Right Act of 2019 has sought to do. So, it's a very important development that has happened, for supporting LGBT rights. So, please do write about it. Write an answer that how LGBT movement in developed societies has affected even the developing societies. What can we learn from other countries? Do write about the latest National Medical Commission's order. So that is all for this video. आज की इस वीडियो के लिए इतना ही. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in my next one. Thank you.